Hello, Algebra 2 folks. Today you need a scientific calculator, a pencil, and your notes, and we're going to go ahead and do trigonometry review. Now, trigonometry is math that is being used to find the distance that you can't physically measure. So we can't take a tape measure and um, try to find the distance to the moon or between the planets or a mountain. So what we use is trigonometry for that. Okay, trigonometry is the definition is Greek for measurements of triangles, and we are going to be focusing on right triangles. And that's where we have a 90-degree angle. And what we're going to use is sine, cosine, and tangent. Now this might be a review, but it is a very good review for you ACT test takers, and also for the trig chapter, where we're going to be learning 3 additional trig functions besides sine, cosine, and tangent. So let's go ahead and write down our basic trig ratios. That's sine, cosine, and tangent. The sine of an angle is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. The cosine of an angle is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And the tangent of an angle is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. The mnemonic I use is SO, CA, TOA. And if you notice, I do SOH where O is above H, so I remember that that's a division happening. Your teacher in geometry last year might have done SOHCAHTOA this year, like this, and that is perfectly fine, but it is kind of misleading that the opposite and the hypotenuse get multiplied together. So I was taught this way by my instructor. If this is something that you remember, no worries, go ahead and use it. Just remember, those are division between the O and the H, the A and the H, and the O and the A, not multiplication. All right. And when we use sine, cosine, and tangent, we want to make sure that we are talking about the measure, using the measure of the acute angle and not the right triangle or the right angle to compute the value. So make sure that you know we're talking about the angles that are less than 90 and not the 90-degree angle itself. Okay, so if we are going to talk about how to set this up, and I want to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of angle A, what I've always taught in all of my classes, and particularly in geometry, is that you put yourself where the angle is that you're talking about. So if this is angle A, I'm going to put myself here. I'm going to be wearing a backwards hat here. I'm not very good at stick people, so there's myself. And what that helps me do is decide what all these sides are. So if I'm standing here, this is the adjacent side. This is the hypotenuse because it's across from the 90-degree angle. And the one across from me is my opposite side. So if sine is O over H, then we would have this being 5 over 13. If cosine is A over H, then we would put this would be equal to 12 over 13. And the tangent is O over A, this would be 5 over 12. So these would be the trig ratios for each one of these sine of angle A, cosine of angle A, tangent of angle A. Okay, and then if I wanted to go ahead and say I want the sine and cosine and tangent of angle B, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put myself where angle B is, so that now I know, okay, now I'm going to have curly hair, okay, so now I will know that the 5 is my adjacent, the 12 is the opposite, and the 13 is the hypotenuse. So sine is O over H, so it would be 12 over 13. Cosine is A over H, so that would be equal to 5 over 13. And the tangent of angle B would be O over A, which would be 12 over 5. Notice there is a relationship here. The sine of angle A and the cosine of angle B are equivalent. The sine of angle B and the cosine of angle A are equivalent. And the tangents are reciprocals of each other. That is a good relationship to know. Okay, let's just do a calculator mode check. So I just want you to put in the sine of 45, and you should get 0.707. Okay, if you don't, then you are not in degree mode. We want to be in DEG mode. So if you are unable to figure out the degree mode, please ask me tomorrow at the beginning of class to make sure that we are in the degree mode. The tangent of 45 would be 1. And the cosine of 30 is 0.866. So if you have one of those calculators that you can just type, you would just type sine of 45, put that in parentheses, cosine of 45. If you have one of those old school calculators where you have to do it backwards, you would type in 45 and then hit the sign button and then the equal sign. So old school calculators, you do the 45 first and then the sign button. If you have a Texas Instrument, that is like a 30x, then you should be able to just go ahead and hit sine 45. All right, so now that we know that our calculator is in the degree mode, we're going to go ahead and let's use some trig and find this stuff out. So right now I want to find this x value. The angle that I'm given is the 24 degrees. I'm going to put myself right here at that 24 degree angle, and I'm going to figure out what sides I have. So if I'm standing here, this would be my adjacent side, and this would be my opposite side. All right, so if I have an adjacent and I'm looking for opposite, that would be the tangent. The tangent of 24 is equal to SOHCAHTOA O x over 15. And so I'm going to solve for x. So I put tangent of 24 in there. Tangent of 24. Let's not round here. Let's go ahead and solve for x right away. So let's multiply both sides by 15 and then take 15 times the sine of 24. And then you can round. Okay, so 6.678 would be x. So then x is approximately, let's round to the nearest 10, 6.7 is the length of x. Okay, I don't want you to round too quickly. If you round too quickly at the tangent of 24 and then you multiply 15, you might be a little off sometimes. So be kind of careful on the whole rounding. If you don't want to round, make sure, if you don't want to go ahead and put 15 times tangent of 24, make sure you go 4 decimal places before you round too quickly here. Okay, so make sure we go 4 decimal places and then multiply by 15. Okay, let's try the next one. All right, here I am. I'm at angle 42. I'm going to go ahead and put myself at angle 42. Little smiley faces are a little bit faster for me than those stick figures. I'm not very good at them. All right, so this would be the adjacent, and this would be the hypotenuse because that is across from the 90-degree angle. So I have an O and an H. No, I have an A and an H, excuse me. So an A and an H would mean cosine. So cosine of 42 equals A, which is my x value, over 18. So I'm looking for that x value. I'm going to multiply both sides by 18. Cosine of 42 times 18. Remember, 4 decimal places if you're going to do that for the cosine. So cosine of 42 would be 0.7431 times 18 will give me the value of x. which is 13.4 is what the value of x would be. So that would be the length of my adjacent side. Let's try number 3. Go ahead and put myself at angle 16. Okay, I have an O and an H, so I'm going to use sine of 16 equals 7 over H. I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by H. Cancel out on that side. H times the sine of 16 is equal to 7. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by sine of 16. H is equal to 7 divided by, might want to use parentheses here, sine of 16, which is 25.4 is my hypotenuse. Yep, 25.4. All right, let's go ahead and find x and y. There'll be 2 answers here. So we'll go ahead and start at that angle 48 because that's what's given to me. So if I have angle 48, x is my opposite, y is my hypotenuse, and I'm given an adjacent, I can go ahead and maybe do, I could do cosine of that angle 48, or I could do tangent. I'm going to go ahead and just do tangent right away. Tangent of 48 is equal to x over 8. Go ahead and do tangent of 48, and then multiply that both sides by 8. So the tangent of 48 times 8 is going to give me an x value of 8.9. All right, so this side x is 8.9. If you want to say 8.88, that would be perfectly fine. Okay, and now we got to find the third side. So now to find the third side, I'm going to go ahead and use a over h, which is cosine. So then I've got the cosine of 48 is equal to a over h, or y, if you want to call it y. Multiply both sides by y. Y's cancel. I have y times cosine of 48 is equal to 8. Divide both sides by cosine of 48. And I will get 8 divided by the cosine of 48 is 11. Y is equal to 11.96 if you want to go 2 decimal places, or approximately 11. Oh, that would make a 0. That would be approximately 12. Okay, so 11.96 or about 12. Now, another way that you could have found that other length is by using the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. I tend to use cosine, sine, and tangent because I think it's easier mathematically to type in, 8 divided by cosine of 48, but by all means, if you want to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared, go ahead and do so. So let's solve a story problem, and then I think this will be it for today. So I want you to find the height of this building. It's not much of a story problem, but it says find the height of this building. So I am going to go ahead and put myself where the angle is for this building. I know the 60 is adjacent. The height of the building is my opposite. So I know that that is the tangent of 54 is equal to O over A. Okay, so if I want to find that height, that's misleading. That H kind of makes it look like it's the hypotenuse, but remember the hypotenuse is right here. So this H is just standing for the height of the building. So that would be O. You could use X, you could use whatever you wanted. Multiply both sides by 60. And 60 times the tangent of 54 would be, that height would be 82.6 feet. So the building is 82.6 feet. All right, so now that we've used the trig functions a little bit and sine, cosine, tangent is coming back to you, that is all that I have for you. And tomorrow we'll come back and we'll practice those problems. Thanks for listening and have a great night.